As if the world needed another 5 versus 5 shooter game, but FragPunk at least lends a slightly differentiated, colorful aesthetic to the genre, so I thought it wouldn't hurt to take a look at the Lancer fashion. I found a Reddit thread where it seems like some players think that the outfits and styles of the characters are a little generic and do resemble a lot of other characters in other franchises to an extent. So I'm curious to see just how well that POV sticks and if I shared the same sentiment. Starting with Nitro, and not to try to make a connection right off of the bat, but she kind of reminds me of a Zenless Zone Zero character, or at least like a realistic, stylish version of one that I think a lot of the fans of that game kind of wish more of the characters, or think that the characters actually look like. But not the most novel design, nothing really too stand out. We've seen this before, but it's just very well decorated, obviously with the pants and all of the belt and buckle and utility details. And I really appreciate that additional utility pouch detail harness situation in her upper body, just to accompany the crop top, just to kind of fill in more of the space and not make it feel completely hollow, but obviously love the body confidence. And I think this winter variation is cute. I think one thing that Marvel Rivals did with Magic and her kind of more snowboarder aesthetic, they made it a little plain. It felt a little flat in some regards, but it was still a nice, refreshing variation for her. This feels just a little bit more decorated and not as flat, with at least some more of those utility pouch details around the waist. Next, we have Jaguar, and honestly, he kind of gives me a vibe of like a Horizon adventure, action-adventure RPG game, which isn't a bad thing, because it's, even though it's a little detached from, I think, the punky genre, it's nice when a game can kind of incorporate a variety of different styles and aesthetics in the mix, just for the sake of diversity and spectrum. Obviously love the body confidence once again. It just feels more tribal, and I just really like the kind of bunched up accessory and decoration of like the scarf and top and slash poncho situation that he has going on. And I mean, great sharp details, especially just with the bracers and like the gloves. Pathogen is where I'm starting to feel like, okay, we've seen this female bodysuit situation plenty of times. We've seen the kind of split contrast hairstyle. I mean, it's giving like Luna Snow in a bodysuit. Unfortunately, they're overshadowed by like these big giants who have done characters like this already. So I'm really not getting the greatest distinction from her overall aesthetic. I think that they could maybe just give her some additional elements, just to give her some silhouette, give her some shape, play with the proportions, give her something that's a little bit more standout and not so Black Widow meets Luna Snow. And to be honest, I don't really know what's going on here. This feels especially like, this feels like a complete left turn, and I feel like deviates instantly from like what tone is already trying to be set with her design and the overall like tone of the game. And it's a bunny girl like maid oriented style, like those who know how I feel about this. It's cute. I mean, I think in any other maybe like more fantastical game this makes sense. I think introducing an alternate skin like this so soon is just a little jarring. I don't always like to review like the robot or just like non-human or at least strongly humanoid characters, but at least we're getting some clothing items here. I do, however, wish that there was some sort of belt, like we're at least getting some sort of like utility pouch garter. I wish there was like some sort of belt that could have been in place, or at least some sort of boot, like actual boots, just to coordinate with the jacket and the hat and like some of the utility pouch situation going on. There's room for that in the future, but would definitely love to see them just play with a little bit more clothing orientation on the actual skeleton of the robot. Okay, like this. Okay, like this. All right, maybe I was a little premature. Like, okay, for a default intro, we're okay. This is exactly what needs to take place here. It still is strong utility, still very tailored to a very specific role. This is, at least just gives us more style. Loving the coordination just with the garter utility pouch with the color in the minor hat, and then just the coordination with the orange. Perfect. Again, not trying to force these like cross-franchise connections just because like that was some sentiment from people in Reddit, but Corona does kind of give me some Yasuo vibes from League of Legends. It's really just the hairstyle, and Yasuo already has some like exposed upper body confidence anyway. All that Corona's missing is just like some sort of dramatic fabric hanging over his shoulder, just giving him more of that movement, swift, agile movement. I do love a little bit of the suspender action coming from the pants. I do, however, wish that there was something else in the upper body, some sort of harness. I just wish that there was something else. There's something missing here. This is much better. I feel like it's differentiated. We're still getting some exposure of the chest. We're still getting some of that bravado, but loving the luminescent details, loving just kind of the sheer elements. It feels much more cybernetic, futuristic, and much more native to a cyberpunk aesthetic and genre. And the hairstyle is different, so it doesn't feel so Yasuo-ish. I hope that they can kind of continue to play in this vicinity with him. Now, Serket, even though we're dealing with some like bodysuit situation again, I feel like it's moved in a slightly different direction. It's a little more differentiated. We're getting like mummy sands of time mixed with a little bit more of that actual like synthetic, armored, kind of robotic end. Loving the asymmetry and just the direct contrast in that regard, and just the varying textures and materials. That adds so much more intrigue and just so much more aesthetic value to her design. Strong form silhouette. Loving her shape. Very sexy still, but without having to show and give us everything. And because of that, I'm not mad at just a very simple snowsuit situation. Flat, definitely flat, but it's cute. It's practical, it's realistic. It feels like a little bit like, I kind of do wish that they maybe played with something a little bit more extravagant and a little bit more refined, just given her default outfit. But I mean, it's cute. It's well accessorized. Like, there's not much more I could say. Hollowpoint, I think, is safe. Like, once again, this is a framework that I've expressed really enjoying. You can't go wrong with it. Crop, short shorts, boots. Wish the boots were a little taller. Nitpick. I mean, the color choice works well. It's good contrast without looking too Bumblebee-ish. And I like that it is like a long-sleeved oriented jacket. And the belt kind of element is a bit more unique, so giving her a little bit more standout. And with the visor, like, it works. Like, it's safe. But she has my favorite snowfield alternate skin or outfit. It's just so much more interesting and significantly less flat than the other two ladies, and the fur is placed in just the right areas to help us scan the full scope of the outfit from top to bottom. And there's just multiple layers to the outfit, which is what's really helping prevent it from feeling too flat and just giving it so much more dimension. Kind of mixed feelings on this version. It feels, I think it's always great when you can give there some sort of upper body garment to help prevent a bodysuit from feeling super flat. Obviously, we've like talked about this a few times already, but the bodysuit within itself is especially flat. I feel like it could have benefited from just a few other design elements. Zephyr, once again, like, it's just the bodysuit. It's like, it's starting to become too redundant at this point, and I feel like these women are losing their identity just a touch. At least we're getting some luminescent details, a strong scarf just to at least give us some sort of additional accessory, with no other kind of like really differentiated alternate skin quite yet. I'm curious to see how they can continue to build upon this with her. She seems a bit more serious, so I think that she can maybe dabble more in the rugged realm, which would differentiate her from the previous two who have their bodysuits. So Spider's saving grace is that mechanical spider situation going on behind him. Without that, he would just be yet another generic anime-ish looking kind of like street style guy. So definitely need to continue to play up just fun, maybe orientation or different design and decoration of those extensions. Really is what's putting in the work here. I would also maybe love to see one that is just kind of tied to more of like a backpack, and he has maybe more of a genuine kind of more street and bad boy style. When I saw Axon, all I could think of is like Suicide Squad. I don't know why I'm getting that vibe, not necessarily likening him to any sort of specific character, but I'm just getting that kind of real graffiti, extra rugged, bad, chaotic energy from him. just especially with some of the kind of color choices. I don't really like masks, but I think in this case, it's actually kind of it's really working to give him a whole, like, some strong differentiation and uniqueness. Loving the crop, loving the length of the jacket, just that dimensional play between a crop and a long coat, really true to the genre. I think the greatest ambassador of the punk style. Sonar kind of gives me a Mass Effect character vibe. I don't know, I think it's just because the blue skin and just the way her hair or whatever her head shape is, it reminds me of that certain race from Mass Effect. But overall, an interesting mystical design, a little techy. It's kind of almost giving like futuristic cyber-ish Atlantis for some reason, and especially just with the name. I don't know if there's any sort of like aquatic abilities. I didn't dig that deep, but overall I think that this is fairly unique, layered and lots of fabrics just to kind of give some flow and movement, a little bit more luxurious. And I love the varying textures. Love Kismet's design. Really, I think just based on some of the treatment they've given her with some of the alternate skin so far, she's going to be a fan favorite. And just really love the different proportional play between like the more oversized, wider silhouette jacket with some very slim pants. And there's like even some kind of like tassel detail coming off of this kind of metal piece on her hip, just adding to asymmetry, adding to a little bit of that kind of Asian inspired twist, especially also with like her hairstyle, but still feels like futuristic, cyberpunk, streetwear cool. So loving where she's headed, but also hugely appreciate a little bit of more of like a street racer, sleek, slim style. Loving how the jacket is kind of opened up from the bottom, a little slight subtle garter element, but then there's also like a design on one thigh as well. I always say how it's nice when they can kind of just fill in the space of just some really plain leg designs. Absolutely giving it. And even though I think that this is a bit fan servicey as well, it is just absolutely cute. This pop idol look. She has the attitude and she definitely has the aura and the energy to pull this off. And even though it's very body confident, it's the extent of body confidence that I like. Plenty of leg coverage and plenty of coverage in the arms. Loving the varying textures, materials, the sheen and the sparkle in the top. And Broker's design is sick. So high fashion, utility, urban, streetwear, cyberpunk, hybrid synthesis situation. Like, this is so absolutely sharp. Purple and gold together, like that is pinnacle of elite and luxury. And I just love the long tailcoat and just how the fabric is draped across his body. Like, it just gives him so much of a debonair twist, but still plenty rugged given all of the additional kind of more functional, tactical gear and pieces that he has as well. This Beach Tycoon skin is a little bit interesting. It's kind of a little surprising. It doesn't feel like a complete left turn though, because we're still getting plenty of luxury. I love the incorporation of some body confidence, and there's still yet, again, even if it's more Western, some of those kind of tactical utility, rugged elements that still balances out a little bit more of the casual, cool, stylish angle that he has. And that was just a quick look at FragPunk and the Lancer style so far. I feel like there's some potential here if they can do a little bit more intentional and thoughtful differentiation and styling of these characters to not make them feel completely generic or overshadowed by a lot of the other Titans that are in the field and market today. But let me know your thoughts as always. But until the next video, I'll talk to you later.